This is going to be a random real shit message. If you remember these, they're not for everyone. They are more like spiritual messages versus like your love life, career, and all of that. It was actually requested during a live, you call it, Facebook feed last night. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it here and have it posted for everyone. I do hope that these messages find everyone in good wealth and good health and good spirits. Before we get started, I do want to thank my guides, guardians, ancestors, and most of all, most importantly, my creator, but also any lesser deities that do choose to come forward and help me give these messages to all of you today. One of the things that has been coming through is a lot of ones and zeros. So in last night's you call it, even though it was personal questions for personal people, it wasn't like a general collective read or anything. Everybody continued to get ones and zeros. There were actually very few fives. One person had, I think, 3 5s in a row, and another person had 1 5. All of the rest of everything that I pulled was 11 11, 10, 11 11 11. It was all ones and zeros. And what I do see happening overall is a lot of people sort of getting into this space where they're better able to understand and even decode certain binary programs, right? They're sort of like seeing the glitches even more so now than before in the Matrix. They're seeing more portals, more time loops, more wormholes. Many of you do not know some of the things that I've had to do over the course of this last 2 weeks, but one thing that I had to do was go into the ayahuasca realm on an extremely massive dose that I do not ever recommend, over the course of 4 days, which actually lasted more like 6. And I had to unlock a lot of these portals and wormholes and sort of like tunnels, if you will. They were never supposed to be locked to begin with. Now, I am not like I don't have the Messiah complex or whatever. Everyone here has a particular purpose, a particular thing that they do, or several things, right? There are people that go and activate certain location points on this space. There are people that direct traffic. If you could think of it like a military structure, everyone has like their branch of military, let's say, and then everyone has their platoon, and within that, like special ops and things like that, right? So it's not like I'm the only one out here doing this, but I was one of the ones that had information and had keys to certain things that I did have to go unlock. It was after that that I noticed a lot of people coming to me with really intense meditations and dreams and messages that directly coincided. Not a lot of people knew what I was going to do. I didn't make it known, and I definitely had not even been back long enough to sort of convey anything really about the journeys, and people were already texting me and messaging me and calling me with messages of how they were just able to access these tunnels suddenly that were taking them into different dimensions and even like time loops, time warps, time jumps. So they could get to a space very quickly and very easily. Okay, so this is part of what's been unlocked. So like I said, a lot of people were getting the ones and the zeros, and what I do believe is happening right now is people more so than ever are starting to sort of break this place down, understand it for what it is, understand the programming, and even understand the code that it's written in, right? So like if you're not a computer programmer, you would not look, and I know this because I had to take computer programming in high school. It was actually an accident. I don't believe in accidents, but it was very hard to keep up with. And so like when everybody is taking computer science where they're learning how to use programs, I actually, by a mishap in the system, got thrown into a college credit class. I was a freshman, and I got thrown into a college credit class that's supposed to come after 4 of those classes. and which is a computer programming class. So instead of learning to use the programs, I just got thrown into learning how to write the programs in ones and zeros. And I remember trying to make these smiley faces, and and you have to put the code in. You have to make the ones and zeros to make the shape that you see. And so I feel like people, that particular situation for me kept coming back. So I feel like people are not only learning and understanding that this is a simulation, that this is a matrix, that it is very sort of computer-like and even robotic in some sense, like that it is a machine, but they are actually starting to learn to read the program at its most basic binary form. So I do find that rather interesting after many events that took place in some of our lives in the other realms and things that we were led to go do, that people that didn't even know about it were kind of stumbling on this information and into these places and spaces. So that being said, let's get into a more less of a channeled message and more of a actual tarot reading. We'll try here though, right? It's good to be back. And then, am I back? Not really. Never will be again. If you don't understand, then that message is not for you. I'm seeing this bell shape. It's an odd bell. It almost kind of looks like a Hershey's Kiss type of a bell. A bell nonetheless. I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's time to ring the bell. There may be, this for some of you, perhaps Arizona is in, because it immediately made me think of like the Bell Rock, the way that the shape is not like a bell like in a church or a tower that you would ring. It's more rock-like. So maybe there are these energetic spaces in this realm that some of you may be traveling to get further information or cleanse yourself, heal yourself. It's interesting also in the situation that happened in the world last year, some of us never traveled more, right? So with all of like travel bans and lockdowns and stuff like that, some of us were called almost weirdly undetected to travel more than we ever have. And so, and stay healthy and stay well. So it's been mighty interesting. Just have a couple, actually 3 more decks I want to shuffle here before we get started. Yeah, there's also some sites, I want to say, like some burial sites that some of you may want to start visiting. I feel like I'm speaking to a number of people that have been to particular places, like you felt like you were called to this particular place. Maybe it's like a sacred burial site, perhaps it's a sacred mountain. There's all of these sacred spaces I feel like you may have been called to before, and maybe you got something out of it. Maybe you left feeling really good. Maybe it was a flop, as some of you feel like it didn't really have the answers or the effect that you were looking for. I do feel now, with what's recently been open and unlocked, you may sort of mull over the idea of possibly going back and revisiting those places, okay? Because I am seeing quite a bit of 3-dimensional travel to quote-unquote sacred spaces and energy vortex. I'm seeing a lot of rocks, mountains. Okay, so there's, and this has been coming through too, there's something very much happening in and around Arizona. There's something very significant about the Bell Rock, also some of the waters, as well as the Grand Canyon. Okay, there's also very particular places for some of us in Mexico that we have to go back and visit. There is at least 2 places I can think of currently. In Canada, there's a couple of places that I can think of. I guess I'm calling out these specific places because maybe they ring true to you for some reason. A lot of people are looking towards places like Utah, and I keep getting the word spent. Like it's spent, it's used up, it's packed, it's done, it's maybe not what it once was. And in fact, it could even be a distraction. Like, oh, there's so much energy and so many sort of paranormal like phenomenons or whatever over here in this place. I feel like maybe you're not looking hard enough, or maybe there's a reason why your attention keeps getting drawn to that place, because there are more powerful places. And this is, again, seems a very specific message for someone, or, maybe a few of you, but it's spent, it's done. There are other places that need to be visited or, sought out even. So yeah, those places that have like an extraordinary amount of activity are almost like I'm hearing a distraction site. Okay, so for those of you that do like to travel and go to your travel experience and vacation is based on these places. So like, let's say like maybe you do ghost hunting, or you do, like your paranormal activity investigations, or, maybe you, go visit haunted houses, or, whatever this is. I feel like I'm talking to some people that actually take vacations and plan trips solely revolving around these places. I feel like the reason you continue to go back, the reason you haven't found what you're looking for, is because it is a site of distraction for you. That's not where you're supposed to be. Okay, there are other places that are less known. I mean, I continue to get the term underground. So these may actually be like underground tunnels, underground caves for some of you. Okay, but these are locations that not a lot of people are going to based on a bunch of reviews of paranormal activity, phenomenon, and energy vortex type of sites. Okay. I continue to see someone in like this space suit. What's interesting to me about the space suit is it's a very kind of old looking space suit. And it looks very like something right out of a 1950s sci-fi movie. And I continue to see that. So I'm not sure really what's going on with space, the space station, NASA. I honestly have no idea. But whatever it is, and I feel that like I'm being shown the activity that's about to kick up in that place, in that space, is a direct extension of something that was started many, many years ago. So if they're telling you this is like new information, this is just happening, breaking, groundbreaking experimental evidence I'm hearing as well. I'm hearing groundbreaking technology and satellites. This is actually a lie. I do feel like there was something, I feel this very strongly, or I wouldn't say it. There was something around the 1940s and the 1950s. I've not done research on this, so don't take my word for it. Please go do your own research. I will do research after this because it's kind of just coming in right now. So there's something that took place in the 1940s and the 1950s specifically, where someone would need to have on a space suit. This was a failed attempt. It wasn't that they didn't have the technology or whatever, but the attempt was failed. But this was whatever is about to be revealed or is currently being revealed actually started nearly a century ago. Okay. And there continues to be this over redundant message of a century. Go a century back. It's coming in for everybody. I have ancestors coming in for people from the 1920s. I've got coins popping up out of nowhere from particular, we'll say, organizations that are being left on my personal belongings that are a century old. Okay, there seems to be something very important about going a century back to see what is it. It's a direct extension of what is being revealed now. I promise we're gonna pull cards. I promise. Y'all wanted the real shit random message, right? Random, not so random. They're saying, yeah, like strap up, strap in. I'm seeing someone, and it's not even like a seatbelt. Like, make sure you're strapped in. It's more like a roller coaster, like click, 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 click. Like, we're getting ready. Like, buckle up, honey, because it's about to go down. Like, I want to make sure I don't fly out of this. It's not even coming through like flying out of the cart, right, that's on the roller coaster. It's like I just want to make sure like I don't be catapulted and thrown out of the theme park altogether. Like, that's how massive this launch could be if I'm not strapped in and up for the ride that I'm about to take. Okay, so shooting out together, you've got forbidden, self-worth, and oath coming out back to back. They just kind of shot out in a little stack there. Okay, so what I'm thinking and have been kind of seeing for a while is we have been told for a long time that there are certain things that are forbidden, right? There are certain desires that you have. There are certain pulls to knowledge that you have that is forbidden, right? It's a sin, it's black magic, it's witchcraft, it's a fairy tale, it's a myth, okay? But you did take an oath. Many of us took an oath at some point to sort of break free of this, to slay this type of doctrine. I'm even hearing like to slay the dogma that has been stuck to many things, right? So I think everything started out in a, I would say, with good enough intention, but over time has been very much perverted. I think people are getting back to those oaths. People are seeing their ancient writings again. More and more people are hearing their ancient names. More and more people are just kind of saying F it and going toward what they internally know to be correct. And no matter how taboo and forbidden they have been told their entire lives, and even threatened to be ostracized and even banished from some families, it's like, it's so worth it because I know that this is right. Like, it has to be right because it's all I've ever known on an internal level. And the more that I fight this, and the more that I try to run away from this, and the more say like satanic people tell me it is, and the more I try to view it in this really harshly evil painted way, the more it rings that it is the true way, at least for me, right? So this is the feelings of people, and it could be, it's a different situation, different scenario, different beliefs for everyone, right? Like I said in the beginning, everyone has their own particular sort of delegated tasks, if you will. And I do see that people are going back and remembering their oaths, following their oaths, following their heart, remembering how much their position here is worth. You know, a lot of people say, me included, I'm guilty of this. I'm not that important. I'm not that powerful. Not so sure about that anymore. Not so sure about that anymore. And we're able to walk to and from these forbidden places and get these types of information, not just for ourselves, but opening them up and paving the way for others like us. Like I said, everybody has a job. You know, I'm instantly thinking of those people that dug tunnels in the war. I'm not sure if it was Vietnam. I don't know. It was a war, like Americans were over there. And maybe not even Americans. It could have, I'm honestly not sure, but they dug tunnels. And a lot of them didn't make it out, but without those tunnels, without them being underground like that, they would have never, the other people couldn't do what they had to do, what they were there to do. Okay. So I'm brought to that. And if anybody knows exactly what war or what job I'm talking about, it was like low tunnel. Like, I feel like people looked at this job, this tunnel digging, as part of the military. It's like I mean, it's a dirt digger, right? Like anybody could do it, but they thought of it like a really lower level job. Like it's not like a sergeant, a lieutenant, or even like a foot soldier. It's something much lower than that. But without those people, none of those sergeants, lieutenants, foot soldiers, and so on and so forth would have been able to not only go forward and fight, but in the end win. So if somebody knows what I'm talking about, please elaborate best you can in the comments. It would be well appreciated. But so I do feel like everyone has their place, everyone has their value, and it is absolutely something that you would have to realize on your own, that there's amazing worth to that. Self-worth, okay? In order for you to unlock and free yourself enough to be able to go to these forbidden places and do these things, okay? There's a lot right now happening in the dark on both sides. So many of us, even ones that have been calling themselves light workers for years, the term is kind of a little bit meaningless now, because a lot of people are realizing, which I've said this from the beginning, but everyone has to go at their own pace and realize things at their own rate. And I've said from the beginning, all of your light worker, love light, namaste, is kind of, don't want to offend anybody. It's a little bit like fantastical. It's not exactly how it works. There's not exactly like white magic, black magic, you know, it's not like evil and bright light and good. And, it's so much more complicated than that. And many of us are being called back to the dark places that we've always been so comfortable in, to work in. And it is more even for some of us like a cloaking. Like if you're expecting me to come in this white robe and this bright light and this sort of holier than thou, self-righteous way, you'll never look for me in those dark spaces. You wouldn't even expect that someone like me would go there. And I'm not talking about just me. I'm talking about, this seems to be an overall realization that a lot of people are suddenly having, okay? Just as the evil ones, or the ones with a more sinister agenda, are cloaking themselves in the light, we have been and will continue to be. And I don't think I ever felt comfortable saying this before. Now, if you've been rocking with me since about 2016, then you know I am by far not scared of the dark and am more comfortable there. But I backed away from telling people these things. You can see the change in my videos in about 2018. And really in 2019, because of the sort of stigma or negative connotation that it had, and the people that it was turning away. Even those people are coming back around and fully understanding what I was saying, right? Because that darkness, it not only cloaks us, it gives us an advantage, but it also, it is very necessary. It's a very necessary space for us to go and work out some things and do things. Not everything can be done in the light, just as not everything can be done in the dark. So people are becoming more aware of this, more comfortable with this, and even going to these forbidden spaces more freely. Now, there is having to be a massive perception shift, okay? So in this, no matter how right it feels, no matter how much you feel or even know that you're supposed to go do these things, you must come to peace with it yourself. So if you see a certain symbol or a certain a space, or get a certain vibe, and you have been conditioned and programmed to think that that is automatically satanic, that is automatically of hell, that is automatically of black magic, you know, no matter how right you or how much you feel you need to go there and do it, if you can't kick that, you're gonna be hard pressed to free yourself enough to do what is being asked of you. And do understand that it is being asked of you, and you agreed to do it. You took this oath. Ultimately, this was your contract that you signed up for, okay? Now, maybe there could have been a number of reasons as to why you did. Maybe you didn't really want to do it. Maybe you felt you were the only one that could take it on, or not even the only one that could. Maybe you felt like you would be the best at it, or you would be a better candidate for it. Whoever, however, who knows? ultimately you picked up the pen metaphorically and you signed that dotted line. So there is that, and people are coming to these realizations, not even just more and more, but also very rapidly. I mean, it's just like time and understanding is just really, really speeding up for people. Okay, nightmare, psychic protection, shield, bad dreams. Okay, and it's coming right over that forbidden spaces. For many of you, the dreams and the nightmares that you are having is places that you, for number one, you're likely gonna, it's either a repeating dream, or it is a place that you've either actually been to in real life, remember being to in past life, or continue to dream about, or even astral travel to. It's usually going to be a place that's, especially here for y'all, it I'm hearing like chugs up, like up. I feel like almost nauseous whenever I see this place, and it brings up a lot of fear for the ones experiencing this. I would never tell you to break down your spiritual protection or do anything that you feel would put you at danger. In fact, on the contrary, I believe that the more fearful you are, especially if you're in a highly intense state of manifestation and have somewhat even realized who you are and what you're capable of, you could actually manifest a hell that it's quite possible you would get stuck in, given your skewed perception. Okay, so if you are experiencing these things, I would urge you to meditate on it long and hard. Put your best spiritual shield and, you know, warrior mode forward and on, and try to understand a little bit more about what exactly is going on, especially if you've been there before or you keep going back, be it astral travel, dream, this reality, or past life. There's a reason you continue to take yourself back, because understand this, you are the one that continues to take yourself back. So there's something you're not seeing, you're not gathering, or you're not setting yourself free enough to experience in that way. Your fear will be your demise. Okay. Yielding, rapture, bliss. I'm going to need to clarify. This is on self-worth, okay? Ecstasy and nobility, honor, high standards, and idealistic. And it's coming right over that oath, okay? And I think this is what's happening. People are becoming more and more aware, and even, they're honoring themselves. Like, hey, I know I took this oath. I know I have a bigger purpose. I know that I can do things and get to places. I got people counting on me even, right? There are people, believe it or not, that can't even wake up and do their job because, and this, again, this is just a theory. I don't know why some people are still sleeping, honestly, but I have a theory, because life here is really hard, and I don't care how enlightened you are and how powerful you are and how whatever you think you are or I think I am. Life is hard here, and it can get to a point, and has gotten, I know for me, and if we're being honest, likely for many of you, that it can just become, it can break you. It can absolutely break you. And there are some minds that can't handle it, okay? And there are some people that can't handle it. I have a theory that the ones that are still sleeping, if you can see some spark of divinity within them, but they are walking around still almost robotic-like, but they're not necessarily empty vessels, I have a theory that one of the reasons they're still sleeping is because it's a switch. It's a safe switch, right? So it can't get too hot before they're ready to go in. Like, they don't want the vessel or the soul or the being or whatever it is to be burnt out before it's ready to go do its job. And it can't go do its part of the job until you go do your part of the job. So you have people like waiting for you to get your things done so that they can do their things. So you go on and do other things. And it's just really this domino effect. But the more that we're unlocking, the more that we are activating, the more that we are doing in all of our own ways, the more we are seeing people wake up. I mean, there are people, complete atheists, that are all of a sudden one day like, holy hell, like I remember where I'm from. I remember my ancient name. I remember 10 lives before this, you know? And then there are people that are, you know, been in the church, raised in the church their whole life, don't know anything other than Southern Baptists, let's say, right? And they wake up one day and they're just drawn to an esoteric shop. They grab a box of tarot cards and they start flipping them and giving the most accurate readings you've ever heard. Again, it is just a theory. But I do believe that what we are unlocking is unlocking them. Like it activates them. You know, I feel like they put this switch into themselves so that they didn't get burnt out, right? Because let's say they've been activated their whole life and they know all of this. They could be a crazy person on the street, you know, preaching to a bench, not at a bench, not on a bench, to a bench, okay? Being thought of as crazy, which can lead to addictions to try to escape because nobody can understand your reality and the mental space that you're coming from and the things that you know beyond knowing, right? And you could be burnt out before it's time for you to do what you do. So again, it's just a theory, but with everything I've seen, I feel like it's a pretty solid one. I feel like you will have almost this drug-like high, this state of just absolute ecstasy and freedom once you realize your self-worth, realize who you are, change your perception around, and realize, and it really feels like that thing you've been missing for so long, like that piece of information or what have you. I think this is already a 30-minute video. I think we're gonna call it there, and we'll do another real shit at another time. I think that's a good amount to digest for now. I love you so much. Thank you so much for all being with me. Thank you for all the support over the years. If you feel so inclined to donate or get to the new merch, the shop where everything is handmade, or book a personal reading with me, all the information is in the description box below. And I love you all, and I will see you next time.